first, a focus on the victims. Sarah Zent was 26 years old at the time of the murders. She was found inside her Gay Street home with 3 of her children. Carter Zent was 5 years old at the time. His brother, Ashton Zent, 3 years old, and their little sister, Aubrey, was just 2 years old. The day started with opening statements from the prosecution and defense. Then the first witness to take the stand, Sarah Zent's own mother. She told the jurors what she saw when she went inside this home on June 2nd, 2021. Barron says she was working in this area near I-69 in DuPont when she took that call from her stepson. She says after he hung up, she came to this gas station. She was looking for a police officer, found one sitting in a car here. She went up to him and reported what happened. November 13th, 1960. 5 days earlier, John F. Kennedy was elected president. And in Paulding, Ohio, it was supposed to be a relaxing Sunday for the Eagleson family. We'll start at 2 in the afternoon. That's when 13-year-old Nancy and her 5-year-old sister Cheryl walked to the downtown movie theater. Those comments leaving some parents and teachers in the district upset. But before we get to their reaction, I was able to obtain copies of math word problems from the book that Mr. Summers mentioned. Let's take a look. Tonight, I confirmed with the Kosciuszko County Prosecutor's Office an investigation is underway. If you send me to a tailgate, I'm going to tailgate, right? I looked at Ticketmaster. They tell us just those 4 upper corners of the Coliseum are left. And I'm Tom Powell at our downtown Olympic studio. We have team coverage planned for you tonight inside Notre Dame Stadium. You can feel the place come alive. And I'm Tom Powell. This is tomorrow night's agenda. It's right here, a scheduled appearance by James Smith, the CEO of Red River Waste Solutions. But will he show?
They like playing around and I mean, they were really good kids. They would do their schoolwork, they would do their chores, they would do anything. Like, if you were sad when you came home, they would run up to you, give you hugs and everything, tell you that they love you and all that.
Tragedy on Grassy Lane, a devastating day at the DuPont Estates mobile home park where 4 children died in a fire. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tom Powell. We're glad you're here tonight. Brian is on assignment. Tonight on the news at 7, we are going to take some time to go over what happened and then to really listen closely to the people who were there and to the witnesses who tried to help. We'll start with Travis Garrison. He says the intense heat woke him up. He says he and the other adults living in the home where the fire broke out, they tried hard to get into the bedroom where some of the children were sleeping, but it was too late.
All you could see were flames shooting high in the sky. This whole road, you couldn't even see houses 30 feet from you. It was horrible. The smoke, everything. It was just so thick, and you couldn't barely breathe.
It's not only what Lila Scheckler saw and felt, but what she heard that will stay with her forever.
I heard the windows just shattering, trying to get in there, trying to get to their kids, trying to save them, get everybody out, hopefully safely, but it didn't happen.
That devastating news confirmed by Fort Wayne firefighters. The 4 children inside did not make it out alive. The 4 adults, including Travis Garrison,
I ran through the house screaming fire,
suffered injuries but survived. He says he lived here with his sister and her boyfriend and with the mother of the 4 children.
She was able to push out the AC and was able to get out of there, and then she ran over to me and asked if her kids were okay, and I told her that they were still in there, and I was running to the front door to try and break it open, and it wouldn't open. I kept hearing the kids screaming, and I couldn't do anything about it.
He says they then got on top of this truck and tried to break the windows.
She was trying to go back in there. We all were trying to go back in there. We couldn't get into the house. The fire was too high. Smoke was too thick. We could not get it back into that house.
Fire trucks soon arrived here on Grassy Lane. The crews had the fire out in about 20 minutes. The tragedy now just setting in for neighbors like Lila Scheckler as investigators work to figure out the cause. It must have been awful.
Yeah, they were devastated. I couldn't imagine being in their shoes. It was heartbreaking. Some emotional scenes there on the scene of that tragedy on Grassy Lane today.
The yellow caution tape is still up at that scene tonight, and it will likely take investigators some time to come out with a full report. We, of course, will keep you updated. In the meantime, when I was back out at the scene about an hour ago, a woman approached me. She lives across the street from the home where the fire started. She says she heard her dog barking, ran outside, tried to break a window, and yell for the kids to follow her voice. She was still in shock as we talked.
I got on that stage because I did not want them to be lied to again.
I lived in a prison of lies and shame. Lying to protect the Lowe family. For years I thought I was a horrible person having suicidal thoughts, not realizing what had been truly done to me, that I was a victim.
And for them to be lied to one more time, I was done with that.
Tonight, Bobby Gephardt shares her story with ABC 21. She's the one who called out her former pastor, in her words, for stealing her virginity in his church office when she was just 16 years old. The pastor's admission to his congregation and Bobby's response were streamed live from inside New Life Christian Church and World Outreach in Warsaw.
Yeah, and Brian, I asked Gephardt about her response, the response rather, that she's gotten from people around the world since she came forward. The live stream that you mentioned has been seen nearly 1 million times. Her story getting picked up everywhere. Now she says she is glad that she finally spoke out. In her kitchen at home, Bobby Gephardt reads words of support she's received since she confronted her now former pastor, John Lowe, about a long-held secret.
You're just caught in this web of lies, and you protect the pastor. You don't speak against the pastor, and that would, just to speak up, people don't want to do that.
For decades, that mindset kept Gephardt from telling anyone. She and her family were devoted members of New Life Christian Church and World Outreach. They had a great deal of respect for Pastor Lowe.
People have a hard time coming against that, but you have to find the gumption.
Thank you, Jesus.
Away from the prayers at services, Gephardt says Lowe was a different man. A man who she says took advantage of her, using his position of trust.
He knew the truth.
What's the truth?
The truth is that he molested me as a minor, and he stole my virginity at 16.
A few weeks ago, in this same kitchen where we talked, Gephardt says her brother asked her about something he saw when they were teenagers.
He asked me if there was an inappropriate relationship, and I said yes. And then he sobbed, and he held me, and his heart was breaking like any big brothers would for their little sister that they knew for all these years. Had held on to that. He could just see something different about me, something changed.
Her family confronted the pastor, who then decided to address his congregation.
I committed adultery. It was nearly 20 years ago. It continued far too long. It involved one person, and there's been no other.
Gephardt sat there listening, waiting for Lowe to mention her age at the time. He didn't, so she and her husband went to the stage. She told everyone about that conversation with her brother, about what he witnessed.
That bothered him all these years. His pastor in bed with his younger sister. A t-shirt and underwear on. I'm a prisoner no longer. I was just 16 when you took my virginity on your office floor. Do you remember that? I know you do, and I have plenty of other stories that I could bring to your remembrance.
The pastor's speech, Gephardt's confrontation, all of it posted on Facebook Live. The recording has been seen nearly 1 million times. One of those views from former church member and Gephardt family friend, Kelly Thompson.
When people started sending me the video of her, I was so proud and so impressed. In a way that really only people who have gone to this church, I hate even calling it that, could be, because there's so much fear there.
Thompson says you have to understand the context to really appreciate what it took for Gephardt to speak out.
We're taught there that your spiritual leaders are appointed by God. to not fall into line with the spiritual leaders appointed by God is not just a rebellion against the spiritual leaders, but it's actually a rebellion against God, which takes you out from underneath the protective covering of God, and so you're in danger.
But you need to tell the truth.
Gephardt broke through that fear, and now she wants to use her position to share what she's learned with other women.
It's been hard because our family is trying to heal and stay somewhat normal. And at the same time, there's so many hurting people reaching out within our church and across the world. I've had people from across the world reaching out with their stories, with needing help, with guidance, with, hey, I'm ready to speak out about my situation. And it has been overwhelming. I have had so much support.
Now, we should remind everyone that the day after that service you saw in the video, Pastor Lowe officially resigned from the church. And Tom, I understand that you reached out to the church again today for comment on this.
Yeah, I'm going to keep trying, right?
Yeah.
I didn't hear back, so we'll refer to their past statement now. If you take a look at that, they say the church community is hurting and broken for Gephardt, her husband, and family. They say they are committed to supporting her. They also say, quote, our brokenness extends to Pastor Lowe. They say for more than 40 years, New Life has taught and preached a message of repentance, forgiveness, and restoration. Again, that message from New Life Church. As for the investigation into Lowe, Indiana State Police now assisting. They are asking anyone who has any information as a victim or a witness to contact the ISP Bremen Post. The Criminal Investigations Division number is 574-546-4900.
And you can stay with ABC 21 News. Tomorrow, Tom continues his conversation with Bobby Gephardt. You can find that online if you'd like to see that, WPTA21.com.